One of the things that Pastor Steve just mentioned is this attitude towards the Jews, anti-Semitism. It's kind of baffling to me because I grew up obviously after World War II, but I look at history and see what happened, and we're not too far along down the road, and all of a sudden we're in this position where anti-Semitism is spreading around again. Do you see this over in Israel? I mean, obviously you do. I don't mean that, but do you look at this and ponder like I do, like how is this possible, or what do you say?
Yeah, I think we see the anti-Semite phenomenon either in Europe and in the United States. And as you say, I was born after the World War II, but I'm a son of a survivor. My mother was born in Germany, and 2/3 of her family was wiped out. And one thing I always say when I speak about the Holocaust is that anti-Semite is one thing, but the Holocaust is not a Jewish thing. It's something that can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime in the world. So it's very important to identify those signs of fascism and fight them, because if you think that the world learned something from the World War II, you're going back to Africa to 30, 40 years ago to Uganda, you're going to Biafra, you're going to Rwanda 20 years ago, you're going to the backyard of civilized Europe, to what used to be Yugoslavia. Over there, Muslims slaughtered just because they were Muslims. So I'm not sure that the world learned a lesson. And there was once someone said that in a place starting with burning books, you ended with burning people. So I think that we need to take those incidents very, very seriously and fight them in two ways. First of all is education, to have tolerance to anyone, whatever it is, and his belief. And the other thing is through the legal system, very, very tough punishments. And yes, we see those incidents again and again, and it's a red light for every one of us.
Do you have a comment on that for us, Steve? Because it's, aside from anti-Semitism around the world in Israel, I look at our politics and some of the people that are running, and there's obviously blatant anti-Semites that freely admit that. But then there's other people who, in the closet, through their philosophy of communism and some of the things that we fought during World War II, seriously think that that's the way that we should go.
Yeah, again, the whole idea of missing the point of World War II is just flabbergasting to me. I can't believe these people go there, but it's one of the problems that we have on campuses in the United States nowadays. I got an article here that talks about the fact that there's research that's been done by, let's see, what is this group? The watchdog group AMCHA Initiative found that anti-Semitic harassment jumped by 70% last year. And so this is on college campuses, right, where this stuff is going on. And there's a couple of main thrusts that are happening on college campuses. One of them is what's called BDS. It's boycott, divestment, and sanctions. That's what BDS stands for. And it's just an anti-Israeli movement. And these things were started by Palestinians. These groups were started by Palestinians. And so what happens is they start off with a political argument between Israel and the Palestinians, and it doesn't stay there. It goes from a political argument to a racial argument, and then it becomes anti-Semitic and anti-Jewish. And so we've got people in our country, Jews in our country, that are on college campuses that are kind of ducking their heads because it's become so unpopular to be Jewish. And again, nobody's learned the lessons. These guys are not paying attention to history. I doubt that they know it. We have these programs in the United States, Avi, where reporters will go out with a microphone and talk to college students on the campuses
Yeah.
and just ask them basic questions
I saw
about
one of
history.
those, yeah.
And
Quite
it's
lack of knowledge.
yeah, it's amazing the lack of knowledge of even just relatively recent history. And it's been said you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And I think that's the situation with this. Plus, from our perspective, the Bible talks about the fact that there's going to be persecution in the last days of both Christians and Jews. And so you see people moving in that direction, and I think it's a fulfillment of those things. And so, not to say that it's inevitable. Well, obviously it is inevitable in the sense that the book of Revelation talks about it, but it's not something that we should just sit back and not do anything about. This whole thing where you can take a whole group of people and you can just categorize them in ways that are just slanderous is ridiculous. And especially, sometimes you have Christians or people who say that they're Christians who are justifying that for one reason or another. And it's just nuts. It's ridiculous. So far away from what the Bible has to say, and so far away from American ideals. It's not supposed to be happening. And yet we have people in academia that are doing this. And again, even in the political realm, where this is becoming something that is like an okay thing to do. And it should be fought. It should be fought on every level.
Yeah. I was thinking that in my head as the spiritual aspect, in the sense of, there's racists towards all kinds of people group, but never where you have a situation like we've been talking about World War II and stuff, that there's such a radical hatred, and specifically towards one group of people in the world.
And for no good reason.
Right.
Yeah. Inspires people, and off we go.
Right.
And so it's just amazing that people get this way. I think that one of the things that's happened in America is as people leave a biblical Christian foundation. Avi, we were talking about Middle Ages theology and stuff at lunch, but when people leave a biblical Christian or a Christian biblical foundation, where they're actually reading the Bible and paying attention to what it says about the Jews and what it says about Jesus and what it says about our relationship with the people of Israel. You leave that and you were just open to all kinds of deception. And I really think that the whole anti-Semitic thing is just a radical deception. There's really no other explanation for the hatred that people have. Again, for one people group.
Right.
It's just crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's over the top. And so, and again, the fact that we see that on the rise on any level, and especially in the area of colleges and universities.
It's supposed to be liberal and tolerance and
and the people who are screaming the most about tolerance are the people who are the most intolerant. The people who are screaming about fascism are the fascists. It's craziness. The world's upside down. Isaiah said, "Woe to you when you call evil good and good evil." And I think those are the days we're living in.